This is the LOHS Evening News with Adam Jasmine and Eris Sherjan.
Good evening. We will be covering the most recent events in the ongoing war.
First off, we have the recap of the Nanjing Massacre, which occurred in 1937.
Then the firebombing in Tokyo.
Followed by D-Day, the most recent battle so far in what has been a 5-year war.
Now we have a special interview with the survivor from the Nanjing Massacre.
Thank you for meeting with me, Mr. Phil. I know it must be hard for you to talk about this.
It's okay.
Do you mind explaining exactly what happened?
The Japanese army took over Shanghai, and after that, their entire military marched toward the capital of the Republic of China, which was Nanjing at the time. On their path, they destroyed everything that was blocking them.
How many troops did Chiang Kai-shek lead to defend the city?
Chiang Kai-shek, our general, left about 100,000 troops to defend our city. Most of them were untrained, and we were not equipped as well as the Japanese. Unfortunately, we were also unable to gather more troops because of our heavy loss in Shanghai.
How many people died in this horrific tragedy?
I think about 250,000 to 300,000 people were killed, including civilians.
What else did the Japanese do to your city?
They raped 20,000 women, and they burned 1/3 of the city.
Thanks for your time.
No problem.
That was a special interview with Mr. Fu. Thank you. Now time for the weather report.
Just like the weather report, except we predict the outcomes of the war.
Well, I'm pretty sure we all know who the winner of this war is going to be. It's going to be the Allies, especially after D-Day.
I would actually predict that the Axis powers will win. I think Germany has a good leader in Hitler, and they can always rebound from the D-Day attack.
I agree with Daniel. The Allies also have Winston Churchill, and I'd say there's a pretty good matchup between him and Hitler. Also, Germany needs more than just a strong leader. They also need a strong ally, and I'm not sure Japan can recover from the recent firebombing. We go to Cooper live in Tokyo, who checks out the situation.
Thanks, Eris. I'm standing here today with the chief of the Tokyo Fire Department, Mr. Kishimoto. Hello, sir. Nice to meet you. So, Mr. Kishimoto, how do you guys plan to re-strengthen Japan after that devastating attack on one of your biggest cities?
Well, we're planning to take it one step at a time by first getting rid of the fire in Tokyo. And we actually figured out that they were using napalm bombs.
I heard you can't put out napalm with water.
Yeah, you can, actually. You have to use a mixture of baking flour with water, and that's actually working pretty well for us right now.
Interesting. Another question. What was the estimated affected area?
Well, the United States bombed 16 square miles of land in less than 48 hours.
So, about 2 days, roughly? Yeah, I have some numbers here, and they say that the body count is already up over 80,000 with an 8, and projecting more civilian casualties.
Yes, but the casualties are getting higher. I'm predicting up to 130,000 people will lose their lives.
Did you say 130,000?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh. Wow, those bombs sure did some damage now, didn't they?
Yeah, yes they did.
Japan's spirit will never be broken. We will fight till the last man. Well, I'll leave you putting out the last fires. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Cooper. Now we go to commercial break.
Uncle Sam wants you to join the war. Get to your nearest recruiting station. Also, if you're too old to sign up, you can support this great nation by buying war bonds to support troops and grieving families of the 10,000 lost on D-Day alone.
The bombing at Dresden, one of the proud moments in American history. The bombing lasted for 2 days, dropping 3,400 tons of explosives. 8 square miles were affected. The goal for our government was to attack factories. Ironically, there were no factories in Dresden, so the reason for the attack is still unknown. But putting that aside, join the U.S. Marines. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Now we go to our special documentary on D-Day.
D-Day, also known as Operation Overlord, was known as the turning point in the war. It took back French soil and proved that Germany could be defeated. This event took over 5,000 ships and planes, and over 150,000 troops. Now, 3 months before the date of actual D-Day, they were already preparing for this attack. Over 1,000 transports were dropping parachute men behind enemy lines to secure flanks and bomb factories and production lines. The Allied plan was to actually destroy Germany before the battle had even begun. The Allied powers had actually tried to deceive the Axis powers into thinking that they were going to attack a beach 50 miles north of Normandy called Pas de Calais. Now, we all know that the date of D-Day is June 6, 1944. Now, the original date was actually June 5th, but the weather, like today, was not that great and pushed back the date one day. The Allied powers also had the weather to their advantage, just like they did to their disadvantage. The Axis powers never thought that there would be an attack on days that bad. Many of the German officers had actually left their posts because they were unprepared for an attack, thinking that it would never come. This made this the perfect day for an attack on Normandy Beach. General Eisenhower had called the attack at 2 a.m. Now, the American, Canadian, and British troops did not get there until 6:30 a.m. to start the battle. On arrival of the beach, many of the men were shot down immediately due to German machine guns. There's quite a bit of the men actually drowned before they even got to their positions. It's because of their heavy packs, and they generally had around 80 pounds on their back. Over all these obstacles, the Allied powers still managed to overtake the Axis powers in what was considered one of the greatest uses of strategy and resources. This was the turning point of this war.
Breaking news. The Battle of the Bulge, also called the Battle of Ardennes, has just ended on January 31st, 1945. This is Hitler's last stand against the Allied powers. Hitler used a blitzkrieg, which is a swift military attack designed to defeat the opposition quickly. We also saw a little bit of this in World War I with the Schlieffen Plan. I even have a quote here from Hitler himself. "This battle is to decide whether we shall live or die. All resistance must be broken in a wave of terror." End quote. Germany's army is now crushed and defeated. It looks like the war will finally come to an end after this battle. Germany's original goal was to go through Antwerp and cut off the British army from the US army to create a division or a bulge between them. Hitler almost succeeded with this because he had new and improved tanks called Tigers, with 88mm guns against the Allies' 52mm guns. It looks as though Hitler is at the end of his ropes. Well, that's all for the LOHS Evening News. I'm Adam Jasmine. Good night.
That's all for the LOHS Evening News.